Let's do question 2. Part A says, define the term method overriding as applied in object-oriented programming. Define the term method overriding. Let me see if I can come up with a definition of definition and maybe a small demonstration. So method overriding is the ability of a method overriding is an object-oriented concept, is it? Nope. Let's just say it's the ability of a method to no, that's polymorphism. The ability of a method to have the ability of a method to change its implementation. Method overriding. So here we are basically doing mutability. You are mutating the method mutability. So by changing its implementation, you are mutating it. So method overriding is the ability of a method in a let's keep it there. The ability of a method to change its implementation. So if you have a method like public void 8, and here it says it like that, then maybe you have a class down here, class A, that extends overriding, and this class also overrides the it method. And instead of calling the it method in the superclass, which is this, using this code super.it, I say my method is going to say I am eating. So this is overriding. We've overridden the method in the superclass. Or if it was an abstract class like an abstract method like public abstract void run, which makes this class abstract, and then you have to implement the method as well, like that. So we are changing the is this changing the implementation? Because here there's no implementation. It's just telling you what the method can do. So you have to define yourself what exactly it's going to do. Running with 2 feet. So we are changing the implementation here, and here we are overriding it and providing our own implementation. So what could be the correct way to phrase method overriding as applied in OOP. Because here we have a subclass and a parent class. Because earlier I wanted to say method overriding is the ability of a method in a parent class, to change its implementation. In a like that. This was hinting at inheritance like we did here. But what if it was an interface? Because if it's an interface, then there's no superclass, there's no subclass. And like if it was just interface C with a public abstract method called work, like that, and then this parent class implemented the interface C, and oh yeah, because it's abstract, we don't have to override it from here. Then override it from like that. I walk. Okay, I believe we can go with definition. Method overriding is the ability of a method in a parent class to change its implementation in a subclass. But when we say parent class, we kind of neglect this feature of interfaces here. That's why I didn't want to include parent class. I just wanted to say method overriding is the ability of a method to change its implementation. Like that. Maybe in another class. The ability of a method in one class to change its implementation. Okay, maybe we could go with this. The ability of a method in one class to change its implementation in another class. Because this is not exactly a class, and we are still overriding this method. So I'm going to go with that one. Method overriding is the ability of a method in one, I'm still using class here. Interfaces classes. I keep saying interfaces are like abstract classes, but I'm actually, let me just look it up. Interfaces treated as classes in Java. An interface is treated like a special class. Okay. Okay. Treated like is not the same as is a class. Oh, Stack Overflow is saying an interface, not a class, is a type. Oh. Let's see how many votes this got. So an interface is not a class, but you could say that both interfaces and classes are types. So it's not a class, it's just treated as one. Okay. In that case, I'm going to say method overriding is the ability of a method to change like that. It's implementation to come out, because that kind of covers everything. Interfaces, abstract classes, inheritance. Yeah. But B, using an example of your choice, write a Java program or programs that demonstrate method overriding. We did that while trying to define method overriding. Your overriding method should have at least one argument and should return something. Okay. Your overriding method should have at least one argument and should return something. So which method should we make have one argument? So this could be index and it should return something. So return an int like that. So we can say it's space, and then x is the times, then plus like that. Then we can return x like that. So this then does this and does that and returns x, something like that. Your overriding method should have, your program should also call the overriding method in the main method. Okay, let's take this back just to not have bloated code. And create something new, something fresh. Let's call it example. Or B even. So demonstrate method overriding. I'm going to do this using, because in the previous example we used inheritance, superclass, subclass. Now here I'm going to use an interface. So I'm going to have an interface down here. Interface, call it Z. This interface has a public and abstract method with a return type of int called walk, and it takes an argument called times. So when I come here, I'm going to say B implements the interface Z, and by implementing that interface I am forced to override the method which is public int, no longer abstract, called walk, with an argument of that, so it returns times, and yeah, let's go with that. So in our main method down here, I'm going to have an object of type B, call it B, or call it object, is equal to new B, and object dot the overriding method walk. How many times do I walk? Let's say 12 times. So this object dot walk returns an integer. So that integer that is going to be returned is going to be stored in a local variable called times. Then I can say shout or shout I walk times a day, like that. So if I run this, I should get I walk 12 times a day. I walk 12 times a day. Let's pop that there. Okay, so that's part B, demonstrating method overriding. 10 marks. Wow, just this. Okay, copy and complete the table below as far as visibility modifiers are concerned by only putting a tick where visibility is possible. So I have this table copied already somewhere. So I'm going to switch between this and this table. So when we see that visibility is possible, we put a tick. Where it's not possible, we put a cross. So visibility is the same as access. You can either say visibility modifier or access modifier. They mean the same thing. So let's create a project, call it visibility to demonstrate. Visibility to demonstrate this concept. So the first one, you can see they're the same. They have the same columns here: visibility, modifier, then these four, the modifier, then the 4 columns. But here in the rows, I have private, protected, and public. So I added the other visibility modifier, the default one, so we can see what that does as well. So let's start with this cell. So if any property or method is private, or even class, if it's private and they're asking, is it accessible within that class? So if that, whatever it is marked as private, can it be accessible within that class? The answer here is yes. So let's try that. We see. So if we have a private field called string name, can we access this field here within this class? Is what they're asking. The answer is yes, we can. So for example, if we have a public method, public void, call it name me, takes nothing, we can say print out the name like this dot name. So we are able to access the field even though it's private. And if we try to run this by creating a visibility object, new, like that, and call the name me method like that, we should get null because name is not initialized to anything. So we should get null. But what we wanted is this piece of code here, this one actually, because we are able to access the private field within the class. This is the entire class from here to here. So we are able to access here, no errors, meaning this is true. We can access that. So what if it's protected and it is still within that class? Can we still access it? All we have to do is change this from private to protected. And we can see if we run the program again, it still runs fine because we are still able to access the field even though it's protected within the same class. So we still get null, meaning this is also true. So what if that field is public? What if it's public like that? Still the same, we are not getting any error. And if we run that, we are still getting null. So we are still able to access even though it's public. Now what if it's, so this is true. What if it's default? for default, all you have to do is not to name any modifier like this. By removing the modifier, you're making the field or the method or the class, you're making it have default access. Default access. So basically, instead of, it's supposed to be something like this, package default, just like we had private or protected, but you don't have to write the actual keyword. You just have to not write anything, and that makes it default. And if it's package default, that also runs nicely. So it compiles nicely and there's no error. Meaning we can still access that property even though it's package default. That is, as long as it's in the same what? The same class. So this is also true. Okay, so that column is done. So what happens when we try to access something with private access in a subclass? Okay, so this is the class. Let's create a subclass down here. Call it subclass, and for it to become a subclass, we need to extend a parent, and this is visibility, like that. So I'm going to have a main method here as well to run that code within the subclass. And if I create an object of type subclass, call it subclass is equal to new subclass, like that, am I able to access this field here if it's private? Because that's what we are working with now. The first row here, this cell here. If it's private, am I able to access it? So one way we can find that out is by printing subclass dot name, like that, because that's how you access these properties here. So by doing that, we see we cannot access it. When we hover our cursor, IntelliJ says name has private access in visibility, so we cannot access it. Remember, when we inherit from the parent, we take on all the properties and the methods, as long as they are not private, because when something is private, it only belongs to that class, within that class. That's why even though we inherited from this superclass visibility, which has this property, we cannot access this field because it's private. It's only accessible within this class, nowhere else. So running this, of course, is going to fail because we can't do this. We can't access a private field. So you can see here it's saying name has private access and visibility, so you can't access it. So our cell here becomes not accessible, like that. Okay, so what happens if it's protected? If it's protected, all we have to do is change this from private to protected, like that. And we can see the error goes away, changes from red to purple. Color blind, is this purple? Looks like purple to me. So it was this, and now it's that. So the error has gone away, and when we run this, it will print null, because we are able to access the property within our subclass. Because protected will apply to, as you can see here, even if it's protected, we can still access it from here. By running this code, I can prove it. We shall still get null. So even though it's protected, we can still access it within the class, but we can also access it within the what? The subclasses that extend that class. So this is true. What if it's public now? If it's public like that, nothing changes. Try to run this code. We get null. Run this one as well. Even though we're not dealing with this column, we are dealing with this one within the subclass, which is what they are asking here. So this one runs fine as well. Meaning if it's public, you can access, even though it's in a subclass. So this is true. What if it's package default? If it's package default, all you have to do is remove this to make it package default, then run, because we're dealing with the subclass. Run the subclass. You see there's no error, so we are able to access this property. So this is also null. So it is true, we can access. So we go to this column, accessible in another class in the same package. Now let me bring back my project, like that project file. So here, this is the default package. When you don't specify a package, every Java file will fall in within the what? The default package. So if this is the default package, what happens when I create a new package? Which is what they're asking. Let's call this my name, like that. Majaliwa. So accessible in another class in this. Getting ahead of myself there. Accessible in another class in the same package. So this will come later. So these 3 files are all in the same package, which is the default package. So we are trying to see. So by saying another class, they want us to create another Java file. Let's call it another, like that. And then in this another file, you are going to try and access this property, the name property invisibility. So we are going to have a main method, create an object of type another, like that. And then you're going to try to access the name field on visibility using what? Using this object, using another object. So object dot name. We see this does not compile. We're already having an error. Cannot resolve symbol name. The compiler is like, we don't know what the symbol means. So this means that we cannot access is this thing private? Okay, let's make it private. So that's what we're dealing with right now. So in this row, this column, here. Another class, same package. So we have another class here in the same default package, and we are trying to access the name field, which is private here in visibility. And we can see we cannot access that property. So this becomes an X, like that. Remember now, it is an X because we've seen we cannot access the what? The property. But this is only when there's no inheritance involved. Because if we well, even though we use inheritance now, it will still be invisible, inaccessible, because private private properties only belong to that class. So basically we could just put XXX here, because no matter if you're using inheritance or composition or whatever, we cannot access the what? The methods or the fields, as long as they are what? They are private. So we can just save ourselves the trouble and put an X here. Because remember, once anything is private, it is only accessible within that class, within this class. So here I say it's private and it's a subclass we cannot access. So it's only accessible within the class. So let's just fill in that row like that and move on to protected. And protected is also accessible within the class and the subclasses. And another here is not what? It's not a subclass. So if I make this protected like that, we still cannot access the name property or the name field. Now, this becomes an X as well. Like that. But now before I go on, I want to show you something, because the question is saying copy and complete as far as visibility modifiers are concerned by only putting a tick where visibility is possible. So here we are seeing visibility is impossible when we are using the what? The another object. But what if we used an object of type what? Visibility, like this. Like this. See, now visibility becomes possible. So if we go back to this here, because okay, since we have an X here, this is all true, because once something is private, it's not accessible anywhere else, and unless it's within the what? That very class. So if we go back here and make this private like this, see, we still get a what? An error. Name has private access in visibility. So even though we are using the same object of the same type visibility, we still cannot access private what? Private fields. So it's only when we come here to this column here where we have accessible in another class in the same package. So this another class is in the same package, and if we use objects of the same type as visibility, or objects of the same type as that class that has the property, then we could have some visibility, but only when it's what? Not private, because private will only apply to the class. So only when it's protected, then we can see there's visibility there. So meaning if we try to run this main method, we should get null, because visibility is possible. It's not entirely impossible. There's a possibility of what? Visibility, which makes this accessible. There's a possibility of visibility, so we make that a tick like that. Because if we don't use this visibility if we don't use this visibility object, then all these cells are going to be XXXX. But they are saying you put a tick where visibility is possible, and it's possible when we use the object like this object of type visibility, which has the property. So here, protected, you can access. What if it's public? If it's public, so when it's public, is like easy. It's easy for every cell. We can also access public properties. Use, but only when we use the object of type what? Visibility. You see, yeah, it's, yes, we can access, but when we use objects of type this another class like this, then everything breaks. This is another like this. See, now we cannot access because there's nothing relating this class to this class. There's no connection, so you cannot. Visibility is kind of impossible there, but it's possible if we do this, and that's what they are asking. Show where visibility is possible. So public becomes a tick as well. What about default? So if we make this property default by eliminating that, like that, we still get no error. The code compiles fine. Like that. But when we use, of course, when we use the another object like this, we cannot access. So it's only visible when we use the object of type visibility, which has the what? Which has the property. So default is also a tick. Now what happens when we try to access this property in another class outside the package? So this visibility class is within this default package. This class here is within the default package. But earlier I had created my own package called what? Majaliwa. So if I try to create a new class within that package and call it new class, like that, you can see it's now even saying the package we are in is what? Majaliwa. Because here we had the default package, so it could not give us this. So if I create a main method in here, and let me first start by creating an object of type new class, call it new class, is equal to new class, like that. So if I try to access this property here, which should be private, because that's the cell we are dealing with, this cell. Oh yeah, that is of course X. So let's go to protected. Let's make it protected, because we saw private. Regardless of whatever happens, as long as it's not inside the class, we cannot access. But maybe you don't believe me. Let's do it like that. Private visibility. Go to another. Where are we? No, go to new class like this, and try to access that object. New class dot name. See, we don't get. We cannot resolve this symbol. But what if we connected this class like this? Visibility, like that. Something that is called qualifier names. Forgetting the name. I think I have to do some qualification here. Abstract? What do you mean it's abstract? No. New visibility. How is visibility abstract? Oh, it's importing visibility from Java beans. Okay, we don't want you. We don't want this one. We want. I think I have to qualify this somehow. How do you qualify default packages? What are we dealing with? Another class outside of the package. Okay. More actions. What are you suggesting? Nope. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another package and call it visibility. Visibility. And this package will contain this guy there, this visibility class. So we have the one package having a new class. Well, the package Majalo having a new class and another package having visibility.java. We are on this column here. We are trying to access some property in another class outside the package. So this class here is outside of this package Majaliwa, and we are trying to access the property within this visibility class within the visibility package. So if we see, we are now in the visibility package. This entire thing is in the visibility package, meaning I can come here and say I want to access visibility from not from Java Beans, but from visibility. So that's how I can access this class here by saying the package name dot this class, the public class, this one. Where are we? Okay. So now here it still cannot access because name has private access. In visibility.visibility, we are referring to this class here. That's why there's an X here, because we cannot access that property. Kati, what if we make it protected? If we make it protected, we still cannot access the field, because protected applies to anything within the class and its subclasses. And here we are not even in the subclass, we are in an entirely new package somewhere. So we still cannot access. Name has protected access in visibility, so we cannot access. There's a compilation error there. Okay, let's run for any doubting. Okay, we can't. We are going to run into some errors here. Oh, this is the one we are trying to do. So mute this one. So if we run this, has to be an error. Yeah, because name has protected access in visibility. So this becomes a cross like that. But what if name had public access? If it had public access instead of protected, what do you think it's going to be? I believe it's going to be visible. So if I change that, the error goes away and the thing compiles. So if I run, we get our null, because the property here is public, which means it's visible to all packages and everything. It's public. So this becomes a tick because visibility is possible there. But maybe you could be asking, yeah, because when we try to use the new class, of course, you know what is going to happen. Things are not going to compile. Visibility won't be possible here, whether it's public or private or protected, unless we use the visibility object like that. Then we can have accessibility. Yeah, then we can be able to access. So let's go to default. Now, default, all we have to do is remove this access modifier and make it like that. So What do you think this is going to do? Remember, this is now package default. And here we are in what? We are in different packages. So what do you think? I think it's not going to compile because these are different packages. And this access modifier here is package what? Default. Meaning it's only going to apply to anything within this visibility package. So if I go to new class, we are getting a what? An error, because name is not public and cannot be accessed from outside the package. Because we made it what? Package default. We made it so that only classes within this package can access this property. Anything else outside the package cannot access the property. Run it. You get an error. Get this long message. Name is not public, invisibility to invisibility. We cannot be accessed from outside the package because we have two packages. So it cannot be accessed outside of this visibility. And there we go. This becomes a cross. Like that. That is, let me try to zoom in, make this a little bit bigger. So there we go. Those are the scenarios where we can have visibility or access and where we cannot have access. Okay, so this is question 2 part C. Okay, yeah, so this is the end of question 2. Let me end it